that was a task trying to get this set up. But anyway, what's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel, Bounded and Bookmarked. I'm Jaleesa, and today is kind of like a very like chill day. It is literally Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. and I told you all in my last video that I was going to be doing like a very tentative spring TBR video, but I was trying to figure out the best way to do that because I didn't want to just bring on a bunch of books that I was like, oh, this sounds kind of good, like I'm gonna read this, knowing that I'm not gonna read them. So instead, to kind of be more intentional about what I was gonna pick to read this spring, I decided to make this kind of like a vlogging experience for all of us. So what I'm gonna do is the game plan. Let's run down the game plan checklist. Number 1, greet you guys. Hi. Number 2, I have already done this off camera because it just took way too long to do and I didn't want this to be a long video, but what I did was I went through my bookshelf and I found books that I have been kind of teetering on reading this year and last year that I hadn't gotten to yet, and decided to use those as the ones that I'm gonna read for the vlog. Number 3, actually pick them up, read the first chapter of all of them, kind of take some quick notes, mental notes too, about whether I think they'll be worth reading now or maybe later. And then number 4 is going to be actually narrowing down this list to just a few books and then actually reading them and then coming back to you, letting you know what I think about them. This video slash vlog will be more of like a TBR, predictions video, all of that kind of combined into one. So I'm just gonna go through kind of what I have. The first one is Fate of Flames. This I know is like an oldie on BookTube, but I heard was a goodie and I've had it for a while actually. And I have been on this romance kick for like a good month. I think now I've been reading nothing but romances and it's been really fun, but I noticed now that I'm wanting some action, some adventure, something a little bit more exciting. There's that to look forward to. So I have Fate of Flames, and then we have Kagan the Damned by Jonathan Mawberry. I actually hauled this in one of my last videos, and it sounds really exciting, so I'm thrilled to see what the first chapter is like in this one. Next is Gideon the Ninth. You all know I've been obsessed with this cover for like a year now, and I hadn't picked it up yet. Part of me felt like I couldn't read this until like the fall because it kind of gives me like a kind of spooky October-esque vibe, but I'm not waiting anymore for books, like for certain seasons to read books I want to read. I'm just gonna read them. And then we have Master of Poisons, which I actually was given a while ago, but next is Sisters of the Snake. For this to be a pretty new book, I really haven't heard many people talking about it. You know, a couple of these books I genuinely haven't heard a lot about, so it should be interesting. Next is Daughters of Jubilation. I've had for a minute. Also Dark Shores I've had for a minute. These are all my fantasy books, so there's a few of them. And then The Poison Heart. And then next is The Inheritance Games, which was a book that definitely kind of took BookTube by storm last year, and there were a lot of mixed reviews about this story. Half the people loved it, half the people could care less about it. I don't know where I'll fall on that whole opinion. I'm curious to see what it's like, because I mean it seems like a really fun, kind of adventurous read, which I'm looking for. And then The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter, which was supposed to be a buddy read for me and Mel. As you guys know, we're terrible at buddy reads, so it didn't happen. It never even started. So I'm gonna try my hand at the first chapter of this book. Next is Tell Me Your Secret. This is a thriller that I've had, that I found back in I think back in like 2020 when I was on my little You kick and all those, like The Obsession by Jesse DeTanto. Like I was really into like the thrillers, the stalker like type series. So this is kind of along those same lines. And then we have Long Story Short, which is a YA romance coming out pretty soon here. So those are my options. So honestly, I'm gonna hop right into this this little vlog project. I'm pretty excited honestly to kind of get a feel for all these stories and let you guys know my thoughts. So let's move to the bed and get a little bit comfortable and do some reading. So I got through the first 4 books in my list. Only one of them really kind of impressed me. With the first chapter. Let me put my camera down for a second though. So let's start with the one that I actually like probably hated the most out of all of these, was Kagan the Damned's first chapter. Well, first 2, because the first chapter was like a sentence. I liked the opening part 1, this part here. So Kagan ends up waking up to a battle happening around him. The whole point is that he's supposed to protect the royal family. They all get murdered, and he now embarks on a journey of basically finding out who murdered the family, like the children, and then getting his vengeance. He later finds out that they're actually alive. The first 2 chapters Nothing's really wrong with them per se. I just think this is very basic writing. I'm gonna read the book, but it's just a matter of prioritizing. This is not on my list of priorities, reading wise, because like I said, the writing was very basic, very simple. That opening scene of like a character waking up with nausea because they're hungover and they're supposed to be part of the royal guard and they're supposed to be protecting the family, and he wakes up to a battle looming outside, like right outside his window. His reaction to that was very bland for me. It wasn't anxious enough, it wasn't exciting enough, and I just felt like there was much to be desired in this first chapter. It was almost like, okay, there's a battle outside, but it doesn't feel like it. Like, he's not acting like it. I read Getting the Ninth's first chapter. Whew, it was a lot to read. The writing is actually very descriptive, very enticing. You kind of really thrown right into Gideon and like Gideon's personality. She seems very sarcastic. She seems like she's just very direct and to the point, but I wasn't sure what I was reading in the first chapter. This writing, I can tell, is dense. And I think where I'm at headspace wise right now with this book, not a good one for me to pick up. Next is one that I'm contemplating still, because I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it just yet. Next is Sisters of the Snake. Raya is a thief and she's stealing naan. And so when they described the naan and they said it was like buttery and garlic, when I tell you my stomach grumbled so hard. But nothing was really wrong with this first chapter. I do think the end of the chapter was very strong, but her chapter was first and she's stealing food for her and her friend Amir. In the midst of this, the person that she was gonna steal from, he wasn't at his normal booth, and we come to find out that he is actually wanted, a wanted man by they're called the Charts. So the Charts are like the royal guards, and so the Charts come to town looking for the man, and at the end of it, there's like this scroll that's left behind where the Chart will put a list of people's names who they want to recruit to join the Chart. You don't have a choice really. Either you join the Chart or you get executed. They don't have many options. You know, either you run and hide, you get executed, or you join the Chart. And unfortunately, Raya's name is on that list. So I think it'll set up a nice second chapter. I'm on the fence about this one, so I have to think about that one some more. Now, this book, I was hooked and I wanted to keep reading. The first chapter was so freaking strong. Fate of Flames. This first chapter was like exactly the kind of feeling I wanted to feel with it. So here's the thing. So this is the first book of the effigies, and the effigies are basically these people, these girls who are chosen to have like these elemental powers that they're going to use to help kill these things called the phantoms. Phantoms are monsters that are basically attacking the earth. This first chapter took place in New York City, and a phantom was there. We're really thrown right into like the action in this book. So our main character is Maya, and she's an effigy. She is a newly formed effigy. She got these powers 2 days before an attack on her town. She's kind of forced to face this new power head on. She has no choice. It's either you take on this new power. She's going to be controlling fire, I believe, and she has to use this to work with 3 other girls to save the world. So there's a man that's going to come into play in this book called Saul, and he actually is able to control the phantom monsters. He does so by using the same power that was only supposed to be given to these 4 girls. I love the idea of this story. I think that this will be a 5-star read for me based on what I've read so far, based on the style of the writing. It's definitely very cinematic. The details were super spot on. They didn't bombard the first chapter for me. It wasn't like an info dump per se. You know, you got information on the effigies and like who they are, and you don't actually have Maya's backstory just yet, but you know that she's an effigy. You're aware that she knows she's an effigy, but that she doesn't know how to use her powers fully. I think this was a really strong first chapter, and I'm really looking forward to reading that book. So the next 4 I'm gonna go ahead and dive into: Daughters of Jubilation Now, Dark Shores, This Poison Heart, and Master of Poisons. Hopefully I can get at least like one more book out of these next 4, and then I'll let you guys know what I think. Okay. I just really want to tell some of these authors that like perhaps you really shouldn't write characters of color. I'm not trying to be that person, but I'm gonna be that person for this next book that I'm gonna talk to y'all about, because I just genuinely hate the way this book was reading, and then to find out that the main character is black it's throwing me the freak off. Okay, so Dark Shores by Danielle L. Jensen. I had to Google these names. At least they are not black, okay? I'll put it like that. They're not black. And I'm reading the book and I'm like, dang, the main character Tariana, she's reading like she's black. Like I thought she was black, and then I had to keep reading to confirm, because y'all know I couldn't just assume. I needed to know. I needed to see proof. Something about writing the main character Tariana as being, and I quote, black as night. I don't know. I mean, you let me know. Is that like weird to y'all? Does that sound weird to you? Because that sounded weird to me. I was reading, I was like, excuse me, black as night. There's nothing wrong with black skin of any shade. Why would you write that? Black as night? She was black as night. This book is getting unhauled anyway, because like the first chapter wasn't even good. But after reading that was enough for me to be like, with a bad taste in my mouth. So I'm just gonna have to let that one go. Let's just laugh for a second. I found it hilarious that on the front blurb, Sarah J. Maas says, I loved every word. Did you? Because I've only read 2 chapters and I can't say the same. So let's try this book. I just want to show you guys really quick this map. This is like a really pretty map. I love this map. That's nice. So somehow this video was supposed to be like fast, and it's now like 11, almost 11:30 at night. So this definitely took a turn to be quite a longish situation, but it's fine. I think the last book I talked about was I don't even remember. Something. Was it the Dark Shores, I think it was? This is what I stepped up and read some of now. I think I'm missing a book, but I did read the first chapter of this Poison Heart of Daughters of Jubilation, Masters of Poison, and I think I'm missing another one. Anyway, so let's talk about my thoughts. This Poison Heart, it was fine. Nothing that made me excited. Honestly, the first chapter was just about like this flower and this guy and his wife and stuff. So it was like not that interesting to me. The first chapter was just so-so. So I don't plan on prioritizing this book at all for the springtime. So that'll be just like a not happening for me. Now, these next 2 were really interesting. Daughters of Jubilation, this book follows this girl. Her name is Evie, and she has like this ability. I don't know what it is. I mean, you see it briefly take place in the first chapter, and I like the way that it was introduced to us. This book takes place in the Jim Crow South. The gift that she has is called Jubilation, and it's been passed down through several generations of black women since the beginning of slavery. I actually plan to put this on my Spring TBR. The interaction that takes place in the first chapter is between Evie and this white family who she, from the looks of it on the outside, has saved their lives from a falling oak tree that was about to crush them in their car. Little do they know, Evie, she's the reason why the tree was falling over. And it was a reaction that she had to what was said to her by this white man. What he said to her caused a reaction, caused the tree to fall, almost killing them, but she saved them. I didn't grow up in the Jim Crow South, but I grew up in the South, and I grew up in the Bible Belt. I think it'll be an interesting book to connect with. I think I'll find some points in this book where I'll be like, dang, that's crazy that happened then, because that happens now. So I think it'll be a really interesting read, and it's one that I know is not widely discussed anywhere. It'll be fun to kind of go in and go through this journey with Evie, so I'm excited. Next is Master of Poisons. Now, whew, talk about something dense. This book is very descriptive in the most beautiful way. This first chapter follows Jola. I'm not sure what his occupation is, but he has this map, and he believes in his ability to fix the issues that they're having in this area. The area that they live in, they're currently dealing with a lot of like poison that's killing their livelihood, basically. It's killing their plant life, it's killing their farmland. Based on the back of the book, at some point, the main character Jola meets a young woman named Awa. I haven't met her yet. She is going to be a very powerful griot, and she's going to come into her own in a world of sorcery, floating cities, kindly beasts, and uncertain men. The first chapter was just so, what is a good word? They use the word luscious, which is a great word to use. I don't want to reiterate that word again, but it was like a painting, and it was just like every brushstroke of a word in the first chapter was just setting up this really magical place, and that's how that first chapter opened up. Also priority. So next up, I'm gonna be very candid here. I'm getting very sleepy, and as of right now I only have 1, 2, 3 books on my for sure TBR for the spring, which is fine. That's like not bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock out the first chapter of Long Story Short, of the Duke Heist, and then for sure the Inheritance Games, because I'm very curious about this. And then I'm gonna do Tell Me Your Secret. I'll let you guys know what the end results are, and then we'll end it there. I'll be right back. Nah, cause period. That's what I like to see. Step into my office. down there so we can discuss these last few books. Okay, so I'm gonna grab, ow, my foot. I'm gonna grab the books that I'm gonna actually read this spring. So this is not to say that these are the only books I'm gonna be reading in the coming months. Obviously, I'm in the middle of books right now and everything like that, and I have arcs that I want to read and just books that I'm reading on as an ebook. So this is really just like a physical spring TBR of books that I had already owned and that I just wanted to make sure that I was reading. Let's start with the first one. Obviously, I went through earlier. I am reading Fate of Flames. This first chapter was really cinematic, really incredible. It just really put us right in the middle of a attack in New York City by a phantom monster. Yeah, the first chapter was just peak adventure and goodness. Okay, next is going to be, I just finished this chapter in the Inheritance Games. It was a very quick chapter. I didn't even need to go to chapter 2 to know that I want to read this book. So this book follows Avery, who ends up inheriting this man's whole fortune. His name's Tobias Hawthorne, and she ends up inheriting his fortune. One of the things that's included is the house, which his 4 grandsons, I believe, are his grandsons? Yeah, his 4 grandsons live in this house. This house has secret passages, riddles, and codes, and Avery is someone who really enjoys things like poker and chess. And the first chapter I really liked because Avery's in school and she's very smart. You know, she's an orphan and she made a way for herself. She studies in between work and at night and all these different things, and she got a perfect score on a test that a teacher makes virtually impossible, and she wanted to prove to herself that she can make what seemed impossible possible for her. The principal and the administration believes that she cheated, and she's just like, okay, if you think I cheated, I'll take the test again. So then the principal was like, well, we have a new test for you. He said she can take it tomorrow. She's like, no, I'll take it right now. I love that. Why put off tomorrow what you can do today? And I like the energy. So this first chapter was great. It was very fun. It showed a little bit of spunk in our main character, and it kind of set up an idea kind of like of how people view her, you know. Obviously it discussed Art, Master of Poisons and Daughters of Jubilation. And then I'm also gonna read, long story short, I love this first chapter. Loved it. The main character in this book, Beatrice, is giving me Avery vibes from the Inheritance Games, because in this first chapter we're introduced to our main character Beatrice and then another boy named Stevie. And Stevie and Beatrice's family, their moms work together, so they have to kind of come together sometimes to have dinner or whatever. Stevie just got into Stanford, and his parents are like bragging on him, like, oh my gosh, my son's so smart, he's so brilliant, he got to Stanford, wow, it's amazing, like, wow, go Stevie. Meanwhile, our main character, Beatrice here, is 16 years old. She graduated high school at 14, and she's been taking online classes in the meantime so that she can get a little bit older before she moves out of her house to go to college. Well, she applied to Oxford, and she got into Oxford. And so the whole time at this dinner, they're like, Stevie's parents are just going in about how proud they are and how anyone would be lucky to be in Stevie's shoes, and that, you know, Beatrice, you know, make sure in the future, you know, very soon that you're looking into colleges, getting everything ready so that you can get into good schools too. And that's when she's like, you know what, I'm not gonna sit here and let y'all talk crap to me like I'm not sitting right here as if I'm not a genius, a child genius at that. Guess what, guys? Are you listening? Your ears clean? They're good? Good. I got into Oxford at 16. Little Stevie wasn't doing that at 16 years old. So hats off to you, Beatrice. I love when people are like bragging on something and then it's just like, little do you know. Little do you know. You can continue to brag all you want, because people who got it don't have to brag about it. She wants to go to Oxford. Her parents are very weary about sending their 16-year-old kid across the world. She's been homeschooled, she's been by herself, she enjoys books more than people, and she's not that social, and she's okay with it, but her parents are not okay with it. And so they want to guide her into, you know, new friendships and things like that. So they basically want her to make friends. If she can do that by the end of the summer, maybe they can consider letting her go to Oxford. She ends up getting kind of like adopted into this like found family of theater kids. I can be shy and I can be introverted at times, depending on who I'm around. So like I get loving these, not more than people, but I get loving books and enjoying them and being immersed in these worlds and in these fake places with these fake people, not more than real people. I love talking to real people, okay? I crave human interaction, but yeah, I get it though. I get what it's like to be kind of like, you know, a loner, I guess, in a sense now. It's weird for me, but yeah, I get it. So I think it'll be a cute story. But yeah, so like I said, this is just like my physical TBR for the spring. I have ebooks that I want to read. I didn't show you guys them because I'm tired. It's getting late. I don't really feel like doing that. Now I have to put all these books back. Look at all these freaking books I have out. Just look at this. Hold on. It's actually a freaking problem. I have books, just literally books, literally everywhere that I have to now put back on this shelf behind me tonight before I go to bed, because I cannot sleep in my room with books everywhere like this. So I hope you guys had fun hanging out with me a little bit. This was fun. All right, I'm gonna go to bed after I put all these books away. So I'll talk to you guys later.